All right, it may be the summer of Roswell in New Mexico, but for people who track unexplained sightings and reports of mysterious visitors, it was definitely the spring of Las Vegas. Remember, it was the last night of April when a family in Vegas called police after seeing and hearing a crash and described what they called very tall, shiny non-humans. A police body camera captured a streak of light across the sky that night. But that and the family's account of what happened are the only things in the evidence column for Vegas sighting 2023. There wasn't much more. I want to bring in James Fox. He's a longtime UFO investigator and producer of two highly regarded films on the subject, The Phenomenon and Moment of Contact. James, thanks for being with us. First of all, what do you make of the Vegas incident? You know, it was reported on quite a bit. Police initially said it wasn't a hoax in terms of the 911 call, but we haven't really seen a lot of other evidence come out of it.
I initially was rather excited about it, but as I dug a little deeper, I found the gentleman's testimony of the beings and the big mouths and super tall, and then the imprints in the backyard to me looked like a little scuff mark with someone's shoe. Wasn't particularly impressive. You hear the impact site, the alleged impact site, and it's fairly significant. If something did in fact hit the ground, it would have left a lot more than just a little circular scuff mark. And the fact that I got directly in touch with George Knapp, who's been reporting on UFOs in Las Vegas for decades, and he said that he had made a number of attempts to speak directly with the family. They initially had agreed, and then they never answered their door on 3 different occasions.
Yeah, I think the same thing sort of happened with the media, I think, in terms of trying to talk with them quite a bit. I want to go through, though, because there's been so many videos and photos over the years, especially it seems like lately, a lot of it gets debunked. I want to go through sort of the top 3 photos that seem the most credible. I know the first one is from McMinnville, Oregon from 1950. Just kind of walk me through these photos and what makes them so credible in your eyes.
So a lot of people say there's just a lack of, I just heard Michael Shermer, the skeptic, say it's always a friend of a friend who saw something, or the friend saw something, and it's anecdotal. But, you know, dating back to the late 40s and early 50s, case in point, McMinnville, Oregon, in 1950, 2 witnesses, Evelyn and her husband, Paul Trent, saw this disc-shaped object hovering over their garden. And Paul grabbed his camera and snapped off 2 or 3 really good shots. Those photographs have been analyzed to death, including part of Project Condon and Blue Book, and there was never determination that they were bogus. They were authentic, broad daylight, points of reference, multiple eyewitness photographs of what appears to be a disc.
Those look clear. I don't want to rush you, but we only have about a minute left, so I want to get to the other photos. Tell me about 1965, Santa Ana, California.
It was a highway worker by the name of Rex Heflin. He was identifying potential hazards in the road. He had a camera with him, a Polaroid camera, and he snapped off 3 or 4 shots of a disc-shaped craft. Those 2 have never been debunked. He maintained his story till his death, and they're very good broad daylight points of reference, again, photographs.
And what about 1990, the photo from Scotland?
So those photographs I heard about in the late 90s. I interviewed Nick Pope, who investigated UFOs in an official capacity for the Ministry of Defense. And I said, what were some of the best cases? And without hesitation, he went to this case that took place in Scotland. But there were 2 witnesses. They took 6 photographs. The object was hovering stationary in the sky for some period of time before a Harrier jet went round it. And then when it took off vertically at a tremendous high rate of speed, according to the witnesses. And there were 6 photographs taken. The MOD took over the investigation. The 2 witnesses wanted the case publicized, but the MOD took over, confiscated the original photographs, confiscated the original negatives, and this never saw the light of day until just recently. David Clark, seen in that photograph here, did an extensive amount of research, found this guy who was part of the RAF, Craig Lindsay, and he had kept 1 print, and that's an original print.
Interesting.
Of one of the photographs.
You almost have to wonder sometimes if the older photos are in some ways more credible because it was like before technology had advanced and you could get in your computer and Photoshop and that kind of a thing. So interesting to see those 3 photos specifically. James Fox, thank you so much for breaking it all down for us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.